This is going to be a mess, but here we go. Hey, it's Kiwi, and this is episode 3 of Minecraft Homebound, like you expected, but maybe not in the style you expected. You see, this episode is actually, weirdly, a new passion project of mine as of writing this script. That's right, it's scripted, but only this VO telling you what's going on. Minecraft is a wonderful game, modded or not, and a typical episode of this game that you see on any channel follows a first-person view that lets you ride right through the unscripted or scripted shenanigans happening on screen as the characters or the player. So, my hope with this episode is to provide a new version of that experience. You see, this episode, I decided to record using Flashback, the mod, and write down what happened as I went about just playing the game in whatever way I liked. Now that all of the truly scripted lines are finished, because in fact the script stops here with the words I'm supposed to speak verbatim, I can actually update you guys on a couple of things, including this might become just the default format for Homebound from here on out, and any future Minecraft videos that don't need immediacy. And the first thing I'm going to start with is actually updating you guys on what mods are now in play, as I have removed some, swapped out some, and added some, just for the sake of what is there. So I added in apple skin simply because it's very helpful to understand how the food is working for my brain. I swapped out the food mod I had before with tasty vanilla, which is really good and needs its updates soon because it promises herbs, which I'm guessing means tea. I've also clearly swapped out my shaders for the super duper vanilla shaders, which is more of a precursor to eventually switching it out for vibrant visuals when that comes around. I've added in the withering enchantment for some combat variety, although I have since tested this mod, and the withering enchantment leaves a lot to be desired. I've added in double books in case I want to do some actual first person and, show off some journal or something that I wrote in for some lore purposes if I decide to do lore. I've also added in a mod called Perfect Parity that pulls back some 1.21.5 features. I'm still waiting on a Happy Cast one because I want the Happy Cast. Give me the Happy Cast in 1.21.4, please. And finally, I actually have an in beta mod known as Wet Sand. It'll make beaches look way more interesting, adds a little bit of extra decor, as well as improving sugarcane farms in the same way that mud does. And the only drawback I can really see to it is I don't think there's any suspicious wet sand in the mod. So a particular type of adventure where you go underwater is just going to be made a little bit easier for me, entirely by accident, because I quite like the wet sand mod. It looks super nice. Look at these. Look at this. With all of that out of the way, we can finally move on to the meat of this video. Unfortunately, day one's files ended up getting so corrupted that they were completely unusable, and you will see a version of that corruption later on. Don't worry about it. It was not that big of a deal. When it comes to day 2, I actually do have the clips this time, and I got to work in a branch mine, hunting down as many diamonds as I possibly could. And I actually found enough to make 2 bits of armor, a pickaxe, and an enchanting table, all of which are extremely useful items, and the upgrades will be nice moving forward. On day 3, I spent some time actually putting together a proper enchanting setup, and I noticed that there was Fortune 3 available for my pickaxe, so I decided, let's go gather XP in the Nether. Yeah, I ended up making a Nether portal, and I basically immediately got killed by a wither skeleton because I wasn't wearing armor. And I also immediately decided that it was going to be super grindy, and that I didn't want clips of that. So I took a handful of days and worked on getting all of my XP over the course of a very long time, because I went from about 25 levels to 7 in that clip that you just saw. It was bad. It was bad. On day 4, I finished enchanting all of my gear. And I say all of my gear because I actually enchanted the pickaxe and took it down into the mines to get a little bit more diamonds. From there, I decided it was time to build another building for the village. So I cleared up all the trees on the hill nearby my home base. That is what you are currently watching. And before we move on to day 5, I actually kind of want to get into something a little bit here, because the copper golem was dropped in the center of this video. So in the middle of me recording all of these clips and all of these voiceovers, they actually dropped the copper golem and told everybody about how the enchantability is between diamond and iron. I thought that was strange, so I looked up enchantability, and I guess it turns out that like the most optimal way to enchant your gear is actually to wait until you have netherite rather than diamond. Don't enchant your diamond gear. It has one of the worst enchantability scores on the table, with I think only leather beating it out for how bad its enchantability is. So genuinely, just wait until you have netherite. I had no idea that would be the case. Wait until you have netherite, and then boom, you have the exact enchantability of the of iron, and you can use that to your advantage. And in fact, I'm probably going to be playing that way in the future. For now, I have pretty decent enchantment on this gear, so it doesn't really faze me. On day 5, I built up the berry farm house. I only really built up its structure. You'll see me doing the roof as well in this section of the video, but I really did only do like the structure baseline. In between that and doing the roof, I decided I ought to go find as many of the berries as I possibly could from Tasty Vanilla, so that I could bring them here for, you know, my berry farm, my vineyard essentially, which is not a vineyard because there are no grapes, and I am a fraud for calling it a vineyard. Whatever. I don't care. It's a berry farm. I'm happy about it. And finally, we arrive on day 6. You can see that I managed to gather up all of the berries, and I started planting them in patches and rows. Unfortunately, as you can see, this is where the final corrupted clip is. I have actually kind of figured out what may have caused the corruption, which is if I added a new mod, which I have added in comforts for the future because I like this format. I'm probably going to keep doing it, and comforts just makes it a little bit easier to skip through days and not have to run all the way back to my house in order to get some sleep without setting my spawn again. Regardless, when I added a new mod, it ends up corrupting the file in a weird way where it shifts a bunch of block IDs, I think. And so when I open up the replay clip, it puts the world into the state of whatever the world was in the state of at the time. And so adding in a mod ends up shifting things a little bit. And that goes for even when I update the flashback mod. When I update flashback, it does the same thing. It shifts all of the block IDs for flashback. And so everything just kind of breaks. And it's really funny to look at, but it's also like completely unusable as a YouTube video clip. So I am so sorry that we have to even deal with this version of a corrupt clip. Even if it's the best possible version of it, any version of a corrupt clip just feels bad. And with that, we actually are at the very end of this video. I loved recording this. It was so much more fun than usual recording for me. And I think it has something to do with the fact that this feels kind of voice actory, as well as kind of like allows me to just play the game without the pressures of being a commentator as well as a good gamer. So this was a lot of fun. I'm going to say right now, this is not going to be the format of every single Minecraft video. It's probably just going to stick around Homebound and anything else that I do like solo or in an SMP style. Like, if anything ends up in the SMP style or survival style. This is probably how my videos are going to be formatted for those, but like for a video where you need to be right there next to me, I promise those will be normal. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you actually did and you want to see more like this, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button. Both of those will encourage me to continue doing this format and continue uploading for the future. Obviously, these videos are probably going to take a little bit more time than usual due to me having somewhat of a life, as well as not a life at all. And so I believe that is everything from me. Again, if you liked the video, please subscribe and like, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye! I decided to record using Flashback, the mod, and write down what happened as I went. I need to re-record the line. And in fact, the very first thing I'm going to start with is all of the different mods that have been added or changed, because if you recall, certain things were not going super well. Am I getting interrupted? This is the first time I've ever had someone interrupt a recording. For essentially the entire duration of day 5, I just built up the berry farmhouse, the berry farm barn, and in the middle of it, I actually decided to go out and hunt for all of the berries from Tasty Vanilla, the mod I mentioned earlier, which is an insanely good food mod, and I'm still waiting on its update. I'm gonna take that again. I'm gonna take that again. This can be a blooper clip. That's fine. That's fine.